Hey friends, and welcome to Mom Talk Maryland. I'm your host, Claire Duarte, founder of the Columbia Mom, and this is your spot for real conversations, local love, and a whole lot of community. Whether you're folding laundry, running errands, or hiding in your car for some peace and quiet, let's dive in.
Hi.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy
I know
St.
this won't
Patrick's
obviously be filming going live on St. Patrick's Day, but that's the day that we are coming to you live. That's the day we are here.
But like sends luck, I feel like. Where is all the luck today for us?
It is not here. None of the luck is here. If you're anything like our kids that are looking for luck and looking for leprechauns, keep searching.
Keep searching. They are not here.
They are not here.
Maybe the Easter Bunny can bring some.
Easter Bunny's fresh out of luck. Fresh out of luck. Oh my God. I don't know what I need. But it might be an Irish car bomb.
100%. 100%. Some Jameson. Something.
You know, like all of a sudden Lib's Grill Looney's is sounding
so good.
Sounding really good. It's sunny out, it's cold out. Let's warm up the inside. Let's make some bad decisions.
100%.
Like, that is the vibe.
Very good at making bad decisions. So if you ever need a partner in crime, I'm here for you.
You know what? This you might have been the perfect person for today. You might have been the divine essence that I needed. I'm not even going to give you guys the backstory on today, but let's just know.
We're here. We're running.
Oof. Wow, my head is like, oh my gosh. All right. Well, we have here Liv today, and how I always like to get started. I love an origin story. Funny enough, like before we hit record and started this, you were like, how did you get started? And I was like, great, go to episode 1 of my podcast.
100%.
Where I talk for 48 minutes straight about myself. I was like, it's funny, as much as I love to talk, I kind of like hate talking about myself, which is funny because I'm an Aries and I'm very much like, as you can tell, I'm not exactly shy. I'm loud. I'm in your face. I very much love being the center of the attention, but I also oddly hate talking about, I think probably hate talking about myself more in the business sense. Sure. Maybe in a personal way, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So today we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, which is probably the reason why I love my podcast. Is like I get to talk. I don't have to talk about me. I get to talk about me and share my life. But the real point and purpose there is to talk about you.
Yeah.
So Liv, tell us. I would like to get started because I love an origin story. I love to know, your background, whether it's personally, professionally, work. You mentioned AI. You mentioned Google, and you're starting a small business, which I've gotten to take a little bit of a peek at. So just dive right into it.
Yeah. So. Okay, I live here in Maryland. I grew up actually in Howard County, which is amazing because we love Columbia. I work at Google in AI. I manage all of the Google Cloud AI business and security for the state of Maryland.
Holy
and also
cow.
all of higher education as well.
Wow.
Which is amazing. But if we go way back, I was an art major. So,
nice.
Yeah, painting major.
Wow.
So you're probably like, how did you get here?
Yeah, connecting the...
Like there is...
Again, this is why I love an origin story, because I'm like...
Yeah.
A plus B never equals C.
It never does. And that's the beauty of life. And I always say, we have to embrace a pivot. And, I graduated in 2008, and don't backwards math that for everyone listening, please.
Right. I only did it just so I knew our age difference. That's the only math I was doing. I can't do age math.
I was a prodigy. I graduated at 25 from college.
Exactly. We are not a day over 25.
No, we are amazing.
Yeah.
So, 2008, art major during essentially one of the greatest recessions in our life.
2008 was a...
nothing.
I was a teenager, but ouch.
Me too. I was a teenager too. But
sorry, I'm cutting you off because, like I said, she was like, for the record, most of my guests are like, Claire, can you send me talking points? And I was like, girly pops, I don't think you understand that this is the most fluid conversation. In fact, you might hate this conversation because we're going to go all over the map. No, we're going to get back to your story. But sorry, the 2008 thing is just, I remember the year that my dad lost his job for like the third time ever, because my dad works in commercial mortgaging and stuff like that. And then had the housing market crash. And I'm one of 5 kids, so I definitely know what it felt like to feel an economic crunch in your house. Yeah.
Totally.
Sorry, back to you.
And it's funny
I'm
because
shut
like
off my mic.
no, do not. I love it. At the time, that was like so devastating for our generation, and now you look back and that's just like one of so many things that we've all had to deal with.
It's like
and
the
I'm
millennial
like,
thing. Like we was like it
like,
was.
yeah. I'm like,
I mean,
that wasn't even a big deal actually.
Well, it's funny because I mean 2008 still is markedly like one of the roughest for sure, but considering everything else we've lived through, it like seems like a blip, but like economically it was still
terrible.
Yeah.
So I left school and I was like, 0 art jobs. I had all of these fantasies of being like,
wait, where did you go to school?
Eckerd College in Florida in St. Pete.
Oh, okay,
super
nice.
small liberal arts school, and no jobs obviously. And very quickly I realized I needed money. Because I don't come from a lot of money
initially,
like,
but
right.
moments
Very
later
quickly,
you were
I was like, oh, okay, to live a life I want, I need money. So I started just like picking up any job I could, moved around, worked in like very fancy hotels for a little bit.
Nice.
Joined the Peace Corps. Got out of the Peace Corps and was like, what do I want to do here?
Yeah.
And somehow ended up making my way into higher education tech sales, which didn't really feel like sales at the time. It was mostly I got to work in education, I got to help people, I got to kind of make a difference. So all of these parallels from my time in the Peace Corps and wanting to do good seemed to transition easily, and I also got to make money because it was sales.
Yeah.
But I think why I have been so successful in sales is because I don't see myself as a salesperson. I try to like be more of like a consultant. And then it just like kind of steamrolled where because I was successful, more companies noticed and came calling. And then eventually I got to Google and so.
Girl.
I know.
So nonchalant. Like, I mean, I feel like Google is mother. Like Google is like the mothership and mother. Like she came calling and people kill for jobs at Google.
We get the statistic, and they've always announced this, is per open rec, we get 50,000 applications per rec. It's harder to get into Google than Harvard, statistically.
My gosh.
Yeah. It's crazy. And the imposter syndrome is real. I'm sure you feel like that too. As a woman in any industry, it's like deeply, deeply ingrained. That's like soon they're going to figure out they made a mistake. I don't belong here. Everyone's going to know and they're going to fire me.
Right.
But like it just doesn't, like that's not the case.
So crazy.
But it takes a while to like make peace with that in your own mind.
Yeah.
You know.
How many years have you been with Google now?
3.5.
Wow.
Before that I was at Oracle for about the same.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been in tech working in the public sector now for almost like 15 years, I would say. Yeah.
What? Yeah. Like going from art degree to talk about polar opposites.
Yeah, it's opposite, but I think of it as my superpower. And they had me come and like guest lecture once at Towson to a bunch of students in poli-sci. And some of them felt like so lost, but I was like, listen, these skills that you're gaining now, whatever it is that you do, don't ever be afraid to pivot because those are still becoming who you are. And those can make you special in wherever you want to go. So because I had this deeply creative, think outside of the box, fail fast, take criticism mentality that you learn with art, right? I came into Oracle and Google very differently. And because of that, I was able to succeed because I was doing things differently than everybody else. Yeah. And I would never trade that. I would never go back and wish I was a business major. I'm like so happy I was an art major.
You know, that's actually a really good way of putting that because, I mean, granted, like starting my own business, I wish I had a business degree because for the sake of like, I feel like I'm literally learning everything as I go. Like I, like my degree's in psychology and I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. I was going to become a therapist. Like, you know,
but you're kind of doing it, right? Like, isn't that what we're doing? Like, I feel like the parallels are there.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, did we just become best friends? Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure. Well, we actually are soul sisters giving our origin story today. We're trauma bonded a little bit. But no, you mentioned that part about creativity, and I was going to kind of like spin that back at you because you're an art major. I mean, I have a couple questions. I'm like, A, what outlets do you find yourself utilizing art? So that's part one of my questions. So hold that. But two, I'm spinning it back to like your current work and things like that too. Because for me, I never saw myself as a creative. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed arts and crafts. Like I loved that. Like I'm like just like my daughter. But I was like, and I remember by 7th grade, like all my electives were always art because I loved art. And I remember in like middle school, because like you're in more of your rotations in your classes or more in your periods. And I remember looking up one day and I was like, I am very slow at this. And like my peers were like, and it was taking me so much longer because I think I would have this idea of what I wanted. And then I kind of realized, I was like, Claire, I was like, you're not really like that good at this. Like, and like in like not a completely like self-deprecating way. It was just like your skill set might not be as high here. Like you can enjoy it and that's fine.
Of course.
And because one of my best friends in middle school was like, come join chorus. So I made the switch. And I did chorus in 8th grade and then chorus the rest of my high school years. And I loved it. And that came actually way more easy to me. But anyway, so I'm saying all that in the sense of like, I've never saw myself as a creative, but now fast forward to being in the social media space, like, I feel like it takes a certain kind of brain to be wired in that, especially like in marketing and comm and social media, you 100%. Need to kind of, you have to have that neural plasticity, if you may, to be able to be kind of coming up with these different ideas. So now I do see myself as a creative in that element, not necessarily with arts and crafts or art specifically, but in that realm. And that absolutely informs my work. And like when I'm sitting down to edit and create content and things like that, like I have to like carve out time to make sure that I can allow myself to kind of, because I don't know about for you, but at least for me, like, because again, we're mom and women and we juggle so many hats, like I can't always just like flip a switch and go right into creative mode. I kind of like need buffer time to kind of like allow myself to sort of get into that mode. Anyway, so that's why I carve it out in my schedule, because, you know, between like checking emails and doing all these different things, my brain is like half wired. So anyways, I know that about me. So I know I have to carve out that space so that way I can bring more of my creative element to my work and it can be a little bit better. Not saying that it always comes out that way, but
it's great. And it's funny because you make such a good point too, where I think a lot of times people think of creativity and they immediately are like art or drawing or painting.
They think like the physical medium.
Right.
Yes.
But being creative is so much more than that. I know people that are, my mom, for example, like she throws an insane party and she will like decorate a table and put out apps and they're just so beautiful. And to me, like that's highly creative. Someone that has a beautiful decorated home, highly creative. Someone that can just put outfits together, highly creative. It doesn't, singing, highly creative. Instruments, highly creative. Like, are you making your own, you know, songs? Are you thinking about things?
Right.
And so it's so diverse, but the foundation of what that's doing to your brain is consistently there. And there's been so many studies by many top institutions that prove, especially with music, like those skills translate a lot of times into entrepreneurship, into very successful businesses, being successful in corporate culture,
right?
Because of what it does to your brain and your ability to think differently. Like you can, your breadth and the wideness and the expanse of your mind is so much larger by having that creative skill set than it is from just being just like in the hard side of like education.
So I'm sure you've heard the saying that like music scratches a part of your brain that like other think, and probably like the same can be said of art too, or like practicing art, doing art. But in no specific, like, cause like the same thing, there's been lots of studies too about music, and hearing you say that, I'm reminded of like as a kid, I took piano lessons for years. And so when you actually like, I didn't even realize that connectiveness because I started taking piano lessons and then switching into chorus. So like, because I had a music foundation, so that's why that switch ended up being very natural for me, because I knew how to like sight read and I knew about music. It wasn't like I was starting music from the start. But yeah, I think you're very right because there's a lot of, without even realizing it, there's certain flexibilities that sort of, I'm like not even articulating it the way that I want to, but it just, I like that you use the word expansiveness. Because you need that. Well, you really need that in any position of work. You need that as a parent.
Just a mom. You know, like it's so true. 100%. It's so interesting because I think as a mom and as a parent, you know, that creativeness and that also what's so great about art, and I don't know, I would love to know if you experienced this in chorus, is that you fail constantly.
Yeah.
Failure is a constant in art. Criticism is a constant. We used to have to put our pictures up on the wall and we had a critique, and literally everyone in class would just tell you what was wrong with your piece. And you
this is why I'm glad I got it when I did, because chorus was not, I mean, we would very rarely would you be put on one-on-one because chorus is choral. Like you might try out for like a solo or something like that.
Sure.
I, as a teenager, would have died.
It was hard. It wasn't easy, especially as a teenager when you're already so self-critical.
Oh God,
I was just,
teenage girl.
Oh my God. Also, the time period that we grew up. In this economy. In this America. No, literally, we grew up at the hardest time to be a teen. I look at the teenagers now, I'm like, you could never survive a day in my high school. Like, you would never. But I do think that exposure to failure and criticism did something to me, where also in sales, you hear no a lot. You hear no thank you. And I just like swallow it. I'm like, cool. Like, that's
again,
fine.
Millennial
Give it all to me.
women that were, again, I was gonna say we weren't raised. We were raised in the 90s, but like we're teenagers in the early 2000s, whereas like these other kids that were like born in the 2000s. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a very clear distinction.
Very clear.
Yeah, and just to be able to just keep on rolling.
Keep rolling.
But no, I do like. That is so funny that you say that about the sales piece, because you're right. I mean, granted, like when you start your own business, like that's something that like I've had to, again, completely learn on my own, but that is tremendous to be able to because it's a numbers game. I hate that quote too, but it is. It just is. I mean, again, like, I'm sure you're feeling it too on in your personal business, and then because this market is insane. We've seen a lot of horrible markets, but it's crazy right now. But no, because like you're constantly going to hear no. You're going to hear no in life, no matter what.
All the time. And I think that's one of the things, it's funny, that I try to teach my daughter all the time, is you have to be able to handle a no. And you have to be able to give a no. Like, both of those are really important.
Oh my God.
So I'm always like, you can tell me no, but you also have to be able to take it and like either pivot, change, move forward, or just like swallow it, like it's so important. Otherwise, how do we like move forward in our lives? Oh
my gosh, I love that you said that, and I love that you're teaching that to your daughter now. I'm like, I need to go home and especially as women, like, because we're taught to be yes women, and we are, because again, in our DNA, we are people pleasers. We're nurturers, we're caretakers. So like it is painful to say no. It is challenging.
It is. And the other thing I love, and I literally think this was said by the Olsen twins, so, but still just as profound, is no is a full sentence.
Oh.
And for me, that was really hard, because every time I said no, I wanted to explain. I wanted to justify.
Oh, it comes with a dissertation.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, hold on, let me write this all down for you and hand it to you in a letter and present it in a PowerPoint. But you don't have to. Like, we do that to ourselves. I know. Like, it can just be no.
I know.
And then you can just leave.
Well, okay, that's not fair. We don't do it to ourselves. It's like culturally.
Society.
Like, I'm thinking about like, that was my mom's gift to me when I was born. You know what I mean? Again, but that was also her mom's gift. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, So
true.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to know more about this Google stuff, because I think that's so freaking cool. But tell me more about your personal business that you've recently launched.
Speaking of just like being totally okay with failure and cringe, I just always am trying to even when I was a kid, I was like always trying to start a business. I remember we lived in like the country. I told you we grew up in like Clarksville, and like rural Clarksville, and I remember I would like do lemonade stands and stuff at the bottom of my driveway, and we didn't have neighbors. My closest neighbor was like a mile away. So literally no one would come there. But I would just sit down there, because I was like, I feel like I'm hard. I always was trying to build something. Yeah. But my parents always supported me. They were never like, that's insane. What are you doing? They were just like, go for it. I'll buy some lemonade.
Yeah.
So I think that innately was always there. And this is my third attempt at a business. But I've learned a lot along the way. So this business is called Andiamo, which is Italian. It means let's go. I think most of the time people are familiar with the word, but if not, that's what it means. So I love to travel. I I love a little bit of luxury in my life.
Yeah.
And in the past couple of years, I've been slowly trying to replace very simple things with a little bit of an elevated experience that I can do day to day, right? It's
Love
just
that.
to like give myself a little something as a mom, as someone that's always stuck in her home office. Like, what can I replace here and make it a little nicer?
Yeah.
You know? So I was, and I have the disease where I'm like, why not me? I was driving home.
The best.
I'm just like,
The
I could do that. I could do that. One day, and I was using Touchland, which I love, and I like.
Don't we all?
Obsessed with her, obsessed with Touchland, very much inspired by her. I was using it in the car, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm out of this. I'm gonna have to buy more. It would be really amazing if this was refillable. And then I have access to some really great models at work. So I went back to my office and I fired up Gemini and started asking, like, is there a niche here? Is there a potential here, or is this too oversaturated in the industry? Mm-hmm. And it was like, no, like there's an opening here for this. And then I was like, okay, so I want a refillable product, but what else do I want? Like, if I had to make the perfect product, what would it look like? And I was like, I would want it to smell amazing, like more like perfume than anything.
Yeah.
I have eczema, so I was like, I need it to be like skin forward, amazing ingredients. I want it to be as clean as possible.
Yep.
I want it to be beautiful because I'm on social media. I want to be able to photograph it. I want people to see it and ask me about it. And essentially, like, I was like, I just want a little bit of luxury in the day that can help me escape from maybe, the park where I'm at, where I'm trying to like clean my daughter's hands and give her a pretzel and like take me somewhere else for just a minute. So I'm like, what if I used global destinations, some of my favorite places in the world, to inspire it?
Yes.
And then I just kind of like was like, I'm just gonna go and I'll see what happens. And if it fails, who cares? It's been so fun. But I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. But then what happened was, every time I told someone about it, or every time I met with like a chemist to make the formula or the manufacturer to make the package, they would tell me it was a really good idea. They were like, "This, we're looking for this. People want this. Keep going, keep going."
Wow.
And so that's kind of like how I got here.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have.
I do. I brought both for you to try. I brought both. So I have two. This one is Capri. So this one has lemon. It actually has Aperol, like Accord in it. Mm-hmm. It has all these amazing like ingredients. Hyaluronic acid is my standout ingredient because I wanted like a moisture powerhouse kind of thing. And it's interesting because so with any hand sanitizer or perfume,
wait, you can kind of like feel, because like a lot of like,
like a little velvety.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So with perfume, hand sanitizer, anything really, like you spray it and then you give it a minute for the alcohol to burn off, because it is 70% of it's going to be alcohol to kill germs.
Right.
And then the smell comes through. So this is Lake Como. This one has like sandalwood.
And I think this is the one that I got. Well, and because I love blue, and I'm gonna.
So I was like, how can I make something super beautiful and that people want to use, that are excited, and that's targeting like moms that want to have a little like escape in their day.
Yes.
So, and then you can refill it. And that's the biggest point, is like, and refills are like a phase 2.
How do you refill it?
So you have to like unhook it like that, and then it slowly lifts up
I'm like,
to like break the seal, and then you just like kind of like re-close it. And I have a little like...
Oh, okay. And I'm sure like, yeah.
So it's...
Well, not to mention on the idea, the practicality.
And I can help you close it.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, but now it's the wrong way. Darn it.
No, this is good. This is testing. Like,
that's right.
It's funny because I had my mom like try to open them, and it was like the same thing. She was like, which way does it go? So I've made a little like illustration online on like how to open them and close them.
Yeah.
But what I love about it too is like, from a practicality standpoint, you can refill it with ours, obviously. But also, if you're just on the go and you're somewhere and you just need to refill it with another hand sanitizer you buy at the store or something, like you can. Yeah. Like, that's the beauty of it. It's environmentally sustainable first.
It's such a green product, which I was going to say, again, like we love like the Touchland products, but you're right. Like, I remember thinking the same thing, like, if I could refill it, you know what I mean? So you are going into like sustainability, and I'm sure like... I don't know if you have this yet. Do you already have like refill like cartridges or something? Okay.
Phase 2.
Yeah.
So it's funny because one of the main things I learned from the first business I tried to start when I was much younger was to keep things very simple and do it in phases. Because the first time I tried to start a business, I was leaving the Peace Corps. When I was in the Peace Corps, there was all these women that were making crafts, and I was like, I want to import these back and essentially sell them and then like donate part of the proceeds back to them to start like microloans for women. But it was just like too many SKUs, too many products, too much overhead, like not enough consistency, and it just was all over the place and it ended up not working. So for this time around, I'm like, okay, we're launching with 2 products. We're going to keep it very simple. We're going to see how the market does, and from there we're going to iterate, and then the phase 2 will be the refills. Get it out there, have people loving it, change the formulation if I need to, right? Like market feedback is huge.
So true.
And then offer the refills like when that
exactly.
becomes, like,
get the product out there first.
Right.
You know, let's have them use it. Yeah. So smart.
Exactly.
So smart.
Exactly.
You know, you said you have the disease where
why not me?
Why not me? That's God. I feel like all women need that disease. Because I'm such, you know, I don't think I've really fully experienced imposter syndrome until I was starting this business, because that was the first time I was ever nobody else, like I was self-thrusting myself into a completely new world. I mean, social media wasn't new to me, but because when I first started the Columbia Mom, again, like part of like my origin story that people hear a lot is that I didn't start it with the intent of it being a business. I just started because I was like, I want to probably just like you. I mean, you have a real business mind, but it was like,
you have a real business. Come on.
No, I mean, I do have a real business, but at the time it was just like, I literally just like I changed my handle on Instagram, and I was like, it was for me, it was re-centering the types of content that I was going to be creating on social media. And then as like the month like went over, I was like, oh wait, I could actually really turn this into a business. And then that snowballed from there, right? Yeah. But I feel like one of the things that that I mean, again, especially that creative part of my brain, I definitely have shiny object syndrome.
Me too.
Shiny object disease for sure. Again, being the Aries that I am, like very like, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I think in business, it's hard not to be constantly paying attention to, and again, also very typical in business and social media and marketing is like to be paying attention to trends, again, as women, as we're like, you know, fashion forward, like it's hard to not be paying attention to seeing what else is going around, you know, because they say, you know, you got to stay in your lane, which is also incredibly true and powerful. But I have found too, and the same thing with my business is like, you know, reminding myself, like, what are my bread and butters? What, you know, and you know, again, the shiny object syndrome for me never goes away, but it's kind of more of like a practice, really. It's like reminding myself, like, yes, I know that I'm always going to be looking and observing and getting excited about all these different things, but reminding myself, like, okay, you know, these are my bread and butters. I am allowed to, of course, rediscover, reinvent myself. Again, this market, for instance, like, you know, is forcing me to kind of, you know, push other areas of my business, which I think is smart and important in this type of market, you know, realizing what things are going to actually stick, you know, what things are going to actually withhold and stand in this market. But that's, you know, reinventing yourself in your business doesn't mean that I'm rehauling everything and now I'm going to start offering 10 million things. No. I'm just trying to strategically offer maybe 1 or 2 different things. And I think that's different than trying to go for a million things. Too much at once. And you were so smart. You said that earlier, like off camera, when you were like niche down. You have to. Because also like all of us, social media has made our attention span very short. Yes. We don't have the capability. Have you seen those memes with like the dancing like vegetables where it's like, oh my God, wait,
I'm
just
like
saw that.
Obsessed with those because I'm like, this is, wait. Here we go. I'm like, this is literally all of us now. So I was like, I need to essentially that like niche down. And you were so smart because in business and after have working in large businesses, trying to start small businesses, knowing a lot of friends of mine that own businesses, all it is seeing an opportunity and having courage. You know, that's all it is. It's like, I see something here and I have the courage to try. And that's all it is trying. It doesn't even have to succeed. Just try. Just try. Because what's the worst that can happen? You're not going to be any like more worse than you are now. You know, if anything, if you don't try, you'll have regret about, could that have been me? What if it was great? You know? I know. It's like, sure, like, yes, you could lose some money, but like, you know, I don't know. On another podcast,
because again, I feel like I don't think anybody was immune, whether you're big or small. Everybody was hit by the market last year, and because we're still having the waves of it, but especially small business owners, and myself, like the numbers absolutely went down. Luckily, Q4 is always significantly strong for us, and that helped us carry through. But the numbers were still going down at the same time. Yeah. But and I I had to make some really tough decisions in the fall, and it was very challenging. But we're still here. I could have closed up shop. I could have I don't know. There's a million different ways it could have gone, but I look back and think, I remember going to my mom, and I was when in the middle of all that hard stuff, and I was just so upset, and I was I don't know I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm just blah blah. And she looked at me, and she was my mom's an accountant, and I don't come from a line of of entrepreneurs or anything like that. I'm the only one, at least in my immediate family, that's doing this. I mean, my husband's a dentist and a partner at his practice, but that's different. But she said to me, she was Claire, every single decision that you make in business is a risk. Even the calculated ones. Mm-hmm. You think that just because I calculated it out and blah blah blah, but it's still a risk because you never know how it's going to play out. When it does play out, you're oh, phew, it worked out because I calculated it. And then when it doesn't work out, you're okay, well, I don't feel as bad because I took the time to, and now I can just kind of relook back. And then on the flip side, when you are also like me, very impulsive, and you jump in, that's half my life, and when it works out, we're oh, that was kind of lucky, which is true. And then when it doesn't work out, you're oh, I don't feel bad because I didn't take the time and effort to, do you know what kind of bias is that from a psychological point of view? There's it's a specific situational bias or something about. Where it's I know what you're talking about. You always kind of make it into a certain bias based on the the outcome of that. Yes, but you're right. It's outcome bias. Maybe. There it was right there. It's right in front of me. Yeah. But you're right. Everything is a risk. But again, everything we do in life is kind of a risk, and we can't be afraid to try. I always tell myself, everything, I know I'm on the right track if I'm a little afraid. If I'm not afraid, I'm not putting enough out there. Yeah. And all of the greatest things I've ever done have come on the back of fear. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful. It's just life. It's true. And that's actually something that I've been really trying to preach to my daughter. You mentioned, teaching your daughter no, that's one thing I'm absolutely taking home today too, is my daughter will always say, I'm scared, I'm nervous or whatever. And and I say to her, it's okay to be scared. In fact, she was the fear is probably not going to go away. Mm-hmm. The key is to know, to be brave, know that you are brave, and do it anyway. The fear and the scary, it's not going to go away. You're not going to be able to walk up there and, and the fears disappear. It's no, it's just feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I completely agree that some of the best things that have happened to me have been because, not necessarily just completely because of fear. I am thanking my impulsivity. My husband hates me for that because he's the calculated guy. Again, that makes him so successful because of his, structured calculations. But I'm also because I just jumped in and I built the airplane on the way down. Again, lots of my, missteps are also for those same reasons. But, I think in business and in life, sometimes you just got to jump. Yeah. 100%. And I love that so much that you're teaching her that. And I need to reinforce that more at home as well. But thinking about, too, what you said earlier about neuroplasticity, it is so powerful. I don't think people quite give it enough credit. There's an amazing book called Radical Candor. And in the book, she I wish I could remember who wrote it, but she talks about how there's just a reframing of what you say out loud, right? Because what we say out loud goes into our mind, and our mind literally absorbs that and it becomes a reality. That's why they say perception is reality. But she says, instead of saying I'm afraid, and I've taken this into my life constantly, instead of saying I'm scared, I'm afraid, I'm nervous, just sub that word to I'm excited. So before I go on stage for public speaking engagement,
I'll think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm afraid. And then I'm like, no, I'm excited. And it does something, right? It changes something. So just rephrasing how you speak to yourself, how you describe yourself, how you think about yourself, you will become that person.
It is so true. Affirmations are so powerful.
So powerful.
And you say that too. I feel like we're just keep swapping life lessons right now.
God,
everything that you're saying, like I need and vice versa.
I know.
No joke, we really do need a drink at
like,
Looney's after this.
Did we literally just become best friends? Are we going to go do karate in the garage?
We're going to go cry in the garage, take some Irish car bombs and some Jameson. I made Irish soda bread at home, which frankly is like, it's so funny because like I'm very Irish, my husband's Latino.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think it's so funny. I'm like, I basically like, I mean, obviously I'm super white, but I'm like, I lean heavy into the Latin, the heritage Latin culture because I was like, Irish food and culture is like, you know, we got jigs and you know what I mean?
The music and the dancing is fun.
Yeah, I mean the country's beautiful,
beautiful country.
But I was like,
the food is
culture all the way, man.
Yeah,
I mean like potatoes. Yeah, God bless
stews,
but
fish and chips,
meh.
It's fine. It's fine in moderation. I just can't. When I remember we were there for 2 weeks.
European food in general, other than like, you know, Italy, Greece, the Mediterranean.
It becomes a little redundant. You're like, I cannot.
Spain, you know.
Even Italy, I'll be there for like a couple of weeks, and by the end, I'm like, I need to find like a Five Guys or something. Like, I need a break.
Right. But anyways, I was like, Irish food. I was like, you know, I used to every year on. Sorry, we're just
I know we're like totally tangenting.
I know,
but I love it.
But I got you your structured questions. We maybe hit like 0.5 of them, but
it's okay.
What was I gonna say? I used to make, you know, corned beef and cabbage, but I was like, corned beef, it's not that great. It's like really not that great. I was like, it's literally steamed cabbage. Guys, there's not like, and I'm not even trying to over white this meal.
Yeah.
But like you don't add like much seasoning to it.
Which is crazy.
But to be fair, that's because like, you know, if you go historically back into like, you know, European like history and stuff like that, like
they didn't have it.
They had like potatoes because they had like, you know, and cabbage, which is one of the cheapest vegetables because there's like no nutrients.
There's like nothing in it.
Because that's why it's like so like clear. Corned beef, which was fine. Like that's the most amount of flavor you're getting from that meal. But I was like, it's not. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's fine. Am I making it? No. I was like, we don't really need to go out of our way. Trader Joe's makes a nice little like, they have like one of those, not a kit, but it's like a, you know, pre-packaged meat that you can just like heat up, which I could do. I love Trader Joe's. I know. But anyways, I made my Irish soda bread, which I hated as a kid because it has caraway seeds, which is a very pungent. Yeah. Like I don't know what else you use caraway seeds in other than.
I literally don't know.
Stews.
I do love soda bread though. It's so good.
It is good. I mean, I couldn't stand it as a kid because I also didn't love raisins, and caraway seeds, like as a child, is very overpowering.
I also hate raisins. I feel like they're just like masquerading as chocolate chips in all my desserts, and
it's
don't
the saddest
like it.
Thing.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not authentic. Get out of here.
I know. And it's the only thing that I like. Again, I think it's just nostalgia at this point. You know what I mean? It's like when I had like, there's some dishes that like, you know, my husband will share with me that I'm like, I mean, because I mean, I love Latin food in general because it's great, you know what I mean? But then there's every now and then, you know, they have that one thing that I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, like pig's feet, like I really don't need that.
No.
I remember I was like, his family tried to introduce me when I was like 37, 38 weeks pregnant, and I was like, y'all, no.
No. I mean, same with Italian food. Like my grandma always wanted me to eat the eyes of the fish, and I was like, no, thanks. Or even like, they eat a lot of octopus in Italy.
I do love octopus.
I mean, it's so good. I just feel like bad when I eat it. I'm always like, but my grandma like obsessed with octopus. It's such a steep part of like the Italian culture. Yeah. But there's some things too in Italy that I'm like, I'm okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna eat that.
Anyways, I know. Again, talk about tangents. We're just going all over the place. Okay, but as we wrap, so where can people find out more about Andiamo and tell us, you know, or tell us what you can, you know, say about like next step. Where can they follow you? Where can they find you? Where can they buy this, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So on Instagram, we are Club Andiamo, and my handle is Livia Caterina. And then online, it's www.andiamoclub.com. We are open for pre-orders, shipping in early May. And I have an amazing team of women that are helping me. Like Maria McTighe is helping me with photography and branding. I have Erica.
Say, your photos so far are gorgeous. Yeah, I feel transported when I saw them.
Thank
I was
you.
Oh.
Yeah, I told Maria my vision. She completely did it. Erica at Thalia Street Digital is helping with the branding and the pre-launch. I have Julia McTighe from Marvelous Spark helping me as well with logo and branding. So being able to like have all of these women support me and help just is so special. And I think probably similar to you at the Columbia Mom, one of the things I love the most about starting this business right now in my life is being able to meet other women that have small businesses.
Yeah.
I've met so many amazing women that I would have never met, that I feel like have become friends of mine that if it wasn't for this business, I would have never known. And I love it. It's such a community.
It is.
Like, it's so supportive.
I know. Well, actually sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many other people that I need to introduce you to that I think of. And again, that's kind of, why I love this podcast, why I love the Columbia Mom, because it's kind of, again, we sat down and I was like, I need to hear your origin story, because I think goes back to the heart of sort of why I started. I mean, yes, I love getting to explore different places of Howard County, share them, with my community, but it was also because I think when I, again, sort of as an influencer, get to know you and your story, I can speak to it more authentically, and that's really, where it heavily comes from.
Yeah.
But again, I've met so many incredible people along the way, just from doing what I naturally like to do.
Yeah.
And it's truly been so fruitful.
And you're so good at it. Like, you're so disarming and just like very real. And what you're doing for the community is so important. Like, I so appreciate you and what you do. Like, truly. Like, I think it's really amazing. And
I will cry. This is part 2 of the cry today.
This is a good cry.
There's many cries that are coming out of today.
But you're bringing people together, and we need that,
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And no, thank you. Well, and again, like I said, I'm not making this about me, but I am making this about me. Just, like my origin story too is, because I started this in the end of, oh my God. Sorry, the only word that's coming in my head is Club Andiamo, because that's just what we're talking about.
What day is
COVID, 22. And, being the kind of insane extrovert that I am, like really feeling like an absolute like caged bird, at home with 2 babies under 2. My son was born June 2020, in the height of it all.
Yep.
And I was a stay-at-home mom for a very short, it's kind of funny, it didn't last very long, but like my mental health, exploded, and I had been working from home prior to that. And, I eventually took like a break, and then I slowly kind of eased back in. But anyways, and Club Andiamo was born. The Columbia Mom, the C's are Columbia Mom, Club Andiamo, like COVID.
Yeah.
Oh God. Columbia Mom was born out of a time in my life where I don't remember. I don't think I was writing a speech. I was writing something, but I was writing something about me, my business, and I was like, it was born out of a time where I needed more, where I wanted more connection, more friendship, more experiences. Just kind of more like all of these things. So when you just said connection in the community and things like that, I wasn't like I didn't care about more followers. I didn't care about necessarily being philanthropic. Like, those weren't at the heart of everything. It's just like I was like, I just want to know, what are the cool places to take my kids? Where's the best donut shop? Blah, blah, blah. And, Howard County to me is like one of the best places like in the state, per the, county executive sharing like one of the best cities in America. And I was like, we deserve that splash. I want to be that splash, or I wanted to see that splash. And no offense, but I needed to get out of those Facebook groups. Great place to ask questions, but I can't.
No, I love that. I love that.
But
like, anyways, you identified you wanted more and you went for it. I think that's something that we can all, strive to do in life.
Absolutely.
I love that so much.
Yay. Yeah. Well, cheers to many, many more. I'm so glad you're here today, Liv. Please be sure to follow her at Club Andiamo on Instagram and andiamoclub.com to get your pre-order. These they're literally beautiful. And it's so funny that you know, because this is what sounds like so stupid. It's like you told me that you'd started a business via email, but like, I don't think I knew. And then I stumbled on it on Instagram and I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then I saw I was like, oh, that's the product that you're talking about. I was like, wait, okay, oh my God. So anyways, I'm so excited that I got my pre-order and I got Lake Como because blue is my thing. I love those. I mean, I was torn because I was like, both sound really good, but I'll start with blue and
I'll send you the other one. Don't worry.
Well, you know, there we go. Well, you can give it to me when we're getting drinks. So.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Perfect.
All right. Cheers. Well,
Thank you so much.
Happy
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. We'll find our luck somewhere.
We'll find it. It's out there.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mom Talk Maryland. If you loved it, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag me at the.columbiamom on Instagram. I'd love to hear what you think. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep supporting local, and keep being the incredible mom, woman, human that you are.